Do you find that there's like a lack of empathy or sympathy when it comes to adults that are being trafficked? Because I kind of see that where it's like, oh, well, she's old enough to figure it out. And I don't think people can understand or maybe necessarily appreciate the complexities of these situations. And it's not that easy. It's not that simple. The majority of people that are victims of trafficking are over 18 or 18 or over. I think it's like, I want to say estimated out of that 60 million, it's like 20-ish million that are underage. But again, I have it like, I'm not super up to date on the statistics, and I don't think that they've honestly been really updated since COVID either.
Yeah, we're still kind of waiting to see. I mean, I've seen the early ramifications of the lockdowns and everything were really horrible on human trafficking. Still kind of waiting to see the full picture, but do I think that, I find that the part that's most difficult for folks to really understand is the coercive human trafficking, the force, when people say sex slave, that forced human trafficking is easy for people to understand or maybe have sympathy for. The coercive aspect is really difficult for folks to wrap their head around, like those trauma bonds. Like, I mean, I was in love with my abuser. So and I still have difficulty wanting to press charges. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about because they're so hyper-focused on the force that they wouldn't understand that, like, the whole time I pretty much, could have walked to the police department. You know what I mean? Like, that part's really difficult for folks to understand. That's why I feel like letting people know it is similar to domestic violence in that way, where you can just it's like you keep going back, even though it might not be healthy, or even, sometimes maybe to different addictions that folks have. It's like, it's not right. Something in your gut, it's not right, but you just keep going back, even though there's a high potential that you could be harmed.
So where does that relationship develop, that aspect of it? Like, how do you start to feel like you love for this predator, right? Like I think that is really hard for people that haven't experienced it to wrap their head around. But when you do compare it to domestic violence, I want to say on average, it takes the victim 9 times to actually leave, to not return.
It took me a lot of times, a lot of times to try to leave. It took me so many times. I quit saying I'm done forever. I just say I'm done today, because I don't want to look stupid and go back and see, these abusers are master manipulators. They understand what your vulnerabilities are, and they know how to play on you. It's almost like folks do understand a little bit, like Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
It is that. I mean, I was basically brainwashed. And they're also really skilled at this, I always say, if these abusers put their intelligence and their ability to get things done towards something good or powerful, they get a lot done in this world. But they don't. They want to do it a different way. And it definitely had me in its grip. And, I actually feel like it might still a little bit, just because I was challenged a couple months ago to take some steps that would get some justice for myself, and I turned it down.
So when that happens, what's going on in your head? Like, what's that inner dialogue?
Well, generally, so the advocate me is like super strong. I'm like a beast. You know what I mean? So like my life now, very strong, beast mode, savage, like no holds barred. I was mad this morning because no publication had covered the second minor survivor that stepped forward to sue Twitter. So I was
Daily Caller did today.
Did the Daily Caller did or the Daily Wire?
I want to say it was Daily Caller. Oh, let me check.
Well, because I was on there, every journalist, trust me, these journalists know. They know what it is with me. I'm a beast. I was on them all weekend. I started on Friday and just would not let up with them. They're like, oh, this girl's annoying. But I'm an advocate. I'm an activist. You know what I mean? I'm crazy. So the advocate me is very strong. Like, I'm like, but the survivor me is sometimes still weak. Just sometimes, you know.
I think you're right. It was the Daily Wire.
Yeah. I wasn't giving them a choice. I was like, you're writing about this today. I'm like, if you don't write it, I'm crazy. I like it though. That's how you get it done. But I think to myself, if that was my child, I would want someone to be talking about this.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
I mean, I think
that's what got me super involved with, like my research hole was becoming a mom and just realizing how real this is. I think we focus too much on it being an international problem and that it's not, but the statistics show we're the highest consumer of child pornography.
You got it.
And I want to say, I wish I had these numbers at the top of my head. You guys can always go to Child Rescue Coalition. They have a lot of statistics there, but most victims know their abuser too.
Yes.
So it's not like this horror film where you just kind of get picked up by a stranger. Obviously that does happen, but most of the time this person works their way into your circle and gains your trust, gains your affection. And then, like you're saying, sometimes it can be so manipulative that you end up creating this bond with the person, which is even scarier because you know what I mean? Like you're saying right now that there was a chance for you to have done something that would have given you that sense of justice and you're still struggling with it, which is heartbreaking. That's it for this week's episode. If you enjoyed the podcast, please rate and review and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can also share this podcast with a friend. It helps my podcast grow and I really appreciate it.